Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But now we can't see our necklaces.
Oh, yeah, totally. Hang on, I'll just lean back a bit like this.
Yeah, let's leave that. I'll have to put mine up somewhere. Okay, finally. Okay.
Oh, that's so good. I'm sure I was being a mudder.
No, I thought I had updated recently, but not obviously recently enough, so that's fine.
We're here now, all good.
It just, I was thinking it was like going crazy because there was nothing coming through. Okay, let's get going. Okay. I like the necklace you've chosen. I've still got this one on. I can't take it off.
I think we were going to wear that one. So I was like, I can't wear that. We're going to totally twin. So I went for this one instead.
But I also have got another one in front of me, so I might put this one on halfway through.
I think we should definitely do that. I think we need to go to the full season guide. I've got the full collection in front of me. And I thought as we talk through it, I might just get changed. And just take them all off and be. I could be the model, and you can tell me all the fabulousness about each of the different pieces, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
I just really wanted to say thank you for joining us. I'm sorry about the bumpy start, and hopefully you heard me starting to gush slightly about how great you are. And I'd also just like to say that I'm a bit jealous that we haven't got matching hair for this call.
Oh yeah, you've got your hair, haven't you?
We miss my little hair. When the pictures went on Instagram, I was like, oh, I really love that hair, and I just thought like it's kind of lockdown crazy. Let's try a different thing with my hair vibes.
But hair always grows back, so that's always a thing, isn't it? It's good to try other things, but I'm a bit stuck with this now. I can't change it.
It's like life hair. I think when you find your life hair, you kind of are there, aren't you? I think that my pink bob is my life hair, but not like at the moment. Life isn't like normal life, so I was like, that'd be fine.
Yeah, I saw Jean Muir when I was in.
Do stupid stuff.
No, it's great. I saw Jean Muir when I was in my 20s. She was in something like the Groucho Club, and she was quite old then, and she was sort of sitting around the table with everybody, and she had this short black bob, and I looked at her and I thought, oh, you look so good. I'm just gonna always have that haircut cut, and you can take that right through to the end of your life.
Absolutely. And it's just that's the dream story about getting that bob too. So I was just thinking about the first time I met you, which was at the Cheltenham Design Festival, when I saw you talk about your work, and I just was blown away by not just your work, but how eloquent and what a fantastic storyteller you are. Like the way that you speak and all of your stories around everything you do is just fills you with such joy, quite frankly. And I think that you bring that to everything you do. And like when I found out about all of those, out of your house and your family and all of those interesting things, it's just like it gave everything that you do kind of like a sense to me, if you like. And the other touch point I've got when I think about your work is that when we got asked by Vital Arts as well to do the Royal London Hospital, and we were going around, and I was just like, oh, Morag did this too. This is so cool that we're getting asked to do this project as well. And oh my God, I think that this project's got to be really good because we're going to be in the same space, or at least on a different floor to Morag's work. So we really need to like pull it out of the bag, quite frankly.
It was Vital Arts. They were so brilliant, and you're so dependent on your commissioners all the time that they're brave, and it was so brilliant. They sort of let me just get going in there, and then I think because I was the first one to do it, then everybody else said, oh, okay, we don't have to just do blues and stuff. So then there's
I think literally Morag just fell off. Just hopefully she will ask to join again when her camera comes back onto the tripod. Or well, we were just talking about our projects that we've both done at the Royal London Hospital with Vital Arts, and when we got asked to do that project, when we got shown around. Morag's project there is such an inspiration, and if you don't know about Morag's project in hospitals, especially children's hospitals, then Google it now, because her work is so beautiful. And in the foyer of the Royal London Hospital, there's a beautiful spinning top. Here we go, she's back again. Yes. Yeah.
God, it's like I've never used a computer. It's like I feel so embarrassed. I've got it propped up. My phone was going to run out, you see, so it's plugged in. So I was worried. That's why it's a bit wobbly. I've got to hold it a bit better. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's like tiring, isn't it? If I'm going to stay or if I'm going to go.
No, it's so fine. I was just talking about that beautiful spinning top and your beautiful reception at the Royal London Hospital. It's just one of the beautiful projects you've done. And like, part of what was hard about, I mean, this project that we've done together was so easy because it's such a natural fit, I think. But like that Royal London project is just one of a plethora of so many brilliant projects you've done, which are kind of represented in the pieces that we've made together. Which maybe we could have a little chat about through the pieces, and maybe we want to start. Do you want to start with maybe with the one that you know, because that's such a special. I might put it on too. Because,
well, I've got to also. I know it's a bit of a sort of a love-in, but I've also got to say that I have followed your work for years and years and years, and absolutely love it, and have so many different pieces. So when you in the deep darkness of the lockdowns, and then you came around and you suggested, when we were allowed, it was a time we were allowed in October, when you came round and you suggested that we could do this together. Honestly, the both of you, Rosie as well, I was just like, it was my dream, and it totally has been a complete joy. And now when we've got the pieces, I'm just like, I can't believe it. It's like 10 Christmases have all come together. And I'm so excited.
Oh my God, I loved it. You could really tell as well. Like your message on Instagram this morning was so great. I loved it.
I was totally, and I got dressed specially. I had to wear exact because I've been trying different things out. So this one is absolutely. I will take it off as well, because what I love about this one is also how the detail of it and how it hangs on you, you know, and it's light because it's made of wood. But I think the one big, massive thing was that you know, we wanted to make wood pieces. So these are just like miniatures of my work. It's just so exciting. And this one is the gateway to the temple of Agape.
I love it.
It's like wearing my miniature work. It's just like too much for me. And
they're almost like sketchbook scale, aren't they? So when we came round, and I love your piece you did at the Design Museum about sketchbooks. And when we came round and you actually showed us real sketchbooks, it's something like, you know, there's something magical and private about seeing inside some sketchbooks. And for me, when you were showing and talking through your sketchbook, it was just like, sometimes I almost like can't hear what's going on, and then all I could see was like possibilities in all of the drawings and all of your stickers and all of the brilliant and the pretty paper, and I was just like click, 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 and all of the arches that you've made, and for me arches are just upside down necklaces, or maybe it's supposed to be the other way around, but there was just like
and that's why this one is really like that, isn't it? Because yes. It's like it's like the sun. This is a joy. This is totally my joy necklace with the sun, and I love how it moves in the middle. That's really beautiful. And then that one
layers on it too, because this piece is and this one too, they're a mixture between the digital printing and the spray painting. So your colour palette's so beautiful and so specific, and I was really very specific with the printer that it had to be exactly how I sent it.
Oh no, and it totally is, because the moment I am so tuned to those colours, and those colours are absolutely spot on, and it's just, it's incredible that it got exactly the right colours.
Right. I mean, between us, I think we've got the know-how, basically, essentially. But with this one, could we mix the fluorescent and the pink, the fluorescent and the print colours? So we used, you have to, because it couldn't print on the same wood, so we've got bits of spray paint acrylic stuck onto the print acrylic too to make up the sort of mosaic a little bit. So this one's the most 3D, and then this one's got a little element of 3D as well. And then some pieces are just pure print. But have you got a favourite piece, Morag?
Oh my gosh, every day it's a different favourite. So, I mean, this one is totally like, you don't really have to wear much. Well, it's better if you do wear something, but it's sort of like armor. It's really nice, and it falls just exactly in the right position. And I really love, just because I've always loved charms, and so this is like my, you know, our charm necklace. And so this one I really love because it's about joy and love and seeing, and then just some blocks. So that one I sort of, yeah, that has quite a lot. It feels sentimental, this one, and it's all the icons of the different pieces of work that I keep on using in my work. Yeah. But the one the
sun was really important to you, and
the sun is really
in your work.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me some projects which have involved that sun?
Well, I think it keeps on happening all the time now. It only used to be a little bit, but now it's a lot. So the Joy Pavilion had big suns on it, and then I did a big piece in Broadgate with planting on the top called the Atoll, and that had 6 huge suns on the top of it. So, and then I'm doing more with sun. So I think now the sun has to appear somewhere on an installation. It's like my symbol that I and the eye appears quite a lot as well. So, and this one, yeah, that one, I think that one is the all-seeing eye. It's about I see. So you have to not looking, about really seeing people and seeing things and thinking about them, not just looking at them and passing them by.
Totally. Well, I think, you know, it's really important to actually look at things, isn't it, essentially? It's really important to look at things. I think if you start to look at things, you see the whole world in a slightly different way.
Absolutely. That's totally. And then I like, and these ones, because I like these because they're wooden jewels. So they're my like crown, they're my jewel set in cubes. So sort of crazy cubes. And I like that one because it's very abstract. And I think that, you know, I might have to wear that with like a black and be a bit more shishi with that one.
And then when you were making this was actually quite challenging because the shapes of the blocks, because they're not even and not regular, to try and get it to balance and to try and get actually to physically link together was actually a little challenge, but it was still important for us to keep it and try and develop it through into the collection, because this was like a representation of your more recent work. Yeah,
I'm doing lots of interlocking cubes, and the cube badge, you had that on earlier. The piece in Coventry that I'm doing is a whole ribbon of interlocking cubes and all going across. So that piece is very much about the work I'm doing in Coventry. So I mean, it just sort of blows my mind that they're all these tiny little things and they're so perfect and they're just like my great big installations.
But tiny. And when I came to your studio and just like all of the like amazing plywood and all of your colours of paint and all of the trays and all of the rollers everywhere, it's so real and so hands-on. And then it's just so lovely to shrink that down, and I love the edges of the wood, the laser cut wood. You've got the print on the top, and then you've got the wood edge, which just is so reminiscent of your work, basically.
Yeah, and it's so perfect. And then the ones where you've done the neon paint, you cut all the shapes. So you paint the sheets and then cut the shapes. I mean, it's just like, it's living in teeny weeny land, and I live in big land. And I realize that I need stronger glasses. I just wouldn't be able to do. Even if I work this size on the computer, I work like really large because I have because I just can't do really tiny things anymore.
Oh yeah, no, I think lockdown is going to be, post-lockdown for me is going to be opticians. I've decided it's time that I do actually pay that a visit. We might need to have a conversation about glasses. It's time everybody's wearing cool glasses. I'm like, we might need to have a conversation about where you get your glasses from, because it's on my radar now. I need to do some serious research.
Yeah,
But
and
yes,
you can have lots of different ones. Oh, there's another sun. I love that one. I love the simple ones as well. Yeah. And it moves, doesn't it, that one?
So I thought we could talk about this brooch, because this brooch is a bit of, but I love that you wanted to call it belonging. And I think that belonging, there's quite it's quite an important word within your work, isn't it? And your sense of belonging and what you think about belonging. Wondered if you wanted to talk about why you wanted to call this one belonging.
Well, because it's it's an iconic house shape, and it's another piece, it's another element. Oh, I just fell down again, sorry. God, sorry. It's another element in my work that I've been introducing a lot, where it's a sort of an enveloped house, like the lines going round and then goes smaller and smaller, and the series of colours. And yeah, it says belonging to me. Not that house is just about belonging, but home, and home can be wherever you want to make it, but it's just that sort of message really in my head anyway.
And I like it because this one has got some bare wood on the front, so a few of the pieces use the actual wood as the finish, like the little block one has got an area which is completely blank of print, so you can see the wood finish through there, which I really enjoy about that.
And that's very important in my work as well. I think that I mean, recently I've actually got rid of quite a lot of wood, but that painted it all. But often then I'll make so that when you go into the installation, you see the wood. But I really love the warmth of the wood with the colours, and I think it is really important to try and show it sometimes. And with these though, you see them, you just get the feeling of the wood on the back as well. I mean, you could wear it this way round as well. It's quite nice, isn't it? I like that.
So your house is really very beautiful, isn't it? So your whole environment, you make environments in the public realm, but also your private environment is absolutely who you are as well, isn't it? And I love your Instagram feed. I'm sure everybody on this call all has followed you through lockdown, and your amazing adventures in DIY. Well, more than DIY, isn't it? It's like transformation, and I particularly enjoyed the library transformation, I must say, and I'm utterly jealous. I think it's fabulous.
Yeah, I think well, I think I had actually, because I traveled really a lot with my work. And then when I come home, when you travel a lot, even though it's really great and it's fantastic and you meet lots of people, you're very tired. And so, I would basically just sleep and watch telly and stuff, when I came home. And I wasn't really as considerate about my interiors maybe I should have been. And I'd left a lot of things because everything just seemed too much. I had to I had to spend 3 weeks doing that, or it wouldn't happen. And then I didn't have 3 weeks, so I didn't do it, and it just got left. So when we had those warnings in March that there was a possibility of us closing down totally, I decided to order the wood for the library that I've been trying. Actually, I tried to get some people to build it for me, but they didn't want to do it because I think it was too complex. And so after just sort of lying down for about a week and a half watching the news, I just said to Luke, look, we got that wood, my partner Luke, we got the wood, we've got to build it. So he said, yeah, okay, because we weren't doing anything else. And we just solidly built it. It was really, really brilliant. And it did keep me sane because, all my work is outside and big structures and stuff, and that had all stopped. And so I needed to have an outlet, and actually to have an outlet that was not about thinking, but more about physical things. It was really, really brilliant. And so, whoa, I'm nearly fallen again. I'm holding me. so that was just absolutely brilliant. Then I just made and made and made, and it absolutely helped me throughout last year, because I think I would have struggled a little bit, I think, if I didn't have anything to do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You don't
And
strike me as someone good at having not very much to do.
well, partly because thinking was hard. I imagine quite. I've talked to my sister about it, and you know, a lot of it's very hard. It seemed like our heads have gone a bit dull down, isn't it? Because we're not getting much stimulus, and it's been really hard. So when you do physical stuff, manual stuff, it's fulfilling, but it's a different type of your brain.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you know, but it was really hard. I mean, I had sleepless nights about putting pink on my ceiling. I was like, should I put that pink on my ceiling? Do I like that pink on my ceiling? Because a lot of my house actually is white. So
Did you go through the same process that you would do if you were doing like a public commission? Was it the same kind of thought, or was it like harder because it was going to be for you to actually be in all the time?
I think houses are harder, much harder. And I would be really nervous about imposing things on other people. But I think unless you experiment, you don't find out. So I have a completely dark grey bedroom because it makes you sleep. Whereas I wouldn't maybe do, well, I'm not saying no, but I wouldn't maybe have a completely bright orange room. I think I maybe would find that a bit too extreme, you know, so to live in every day. But never
Yeah,
say never. I mean, you know, so I think it is hard. Houses are very hard. Yeah, and because the installations are different. I often work with communities. It's making a different impression, the period of time you're in it, you know, what you're trying to achieve. There's very, very different feeling. But I always say that it's only paint. And so I did paint my staircase pink. And then I traumatized about it for about 2 months, because I wasn't sure if I wanted all the staircase. If I got down to the other landing, I had to paint all the doors pink and everything pink and everything pink. And it was just like, oh my God, there's too much pink. So I went back to white. So, you know, sometimes you can get it. You've got to change your mind.
I think that's important, isn't it? So you can do you can do whatever you want, and I think that your work has a sense of you're doing whatever you want, essentially.
Yeah.
There's a real sense of you in everything you do. And I just wondered if you wanted to tell us, like, maybe where you think that your sense of colour comes from, because maybe you want to tell us some stories um, about where that resonates from, like inside of you, essentially. Like, why do you think that you are so drawn to colour and it's so important in your work?
It's totally about my upbringing. It's my mum was a textile artist, and she was always making, had fabrics, had threads, had we used to card wool and spin wool and dye, collect elderberries to dye. And then she showed us the colors, the really difference between artificial dyes and natural dyes. And you know, I was only a tiny little one, and my dad was a musician, so we had music in the house. And I think music and colors and things all bring certain things in your head. So I absolutely feel that it definitely, it was from that time. And then I loved doing embroidery, because my mum was an embroideress, and I belonged to young embroiderers. And I had a piece in the Commonwealth Institute when I was 9. I put it up for sale, like somebody was going to buy something off a 9-year-old. But anyway, I was the only 9-year-old who put it up for sale. Nobody bought it.
Maybe I'm different, like in the beginning.
So yeah, so it's totally from being brought up. My grandmother was also a hat designer for Hartnell's, and so she would make hats, and there was color and you know, and it was just, yeah, I feel it just comes from there, being introduced to it very young. And I think that's really important. That's why I think, you know, this year has been really important for people to be making with their kids, to, you know, I mean, I was going to say I'm lucky I haven't got kids. No, only because I'm so sorry for everybody who has had to do homeschooling. It's looked a nightmare. But, you know, I think there has been time where, you know, you have to fill the time, isn't it? And so making is a really great way of doing that as well.
Yeah, that
And
really helped me, definitely in lockdown. I made all kinds of crazy stuff, like things I've always wanted to do, like making corn dollies. Like I've always fancied having a go at that, and I was like, I'm just going to order some corn. I'm just going to have a go. And actually, it was great. And making pin cushions and making all kinds of Polish craft and just like a string of ridiculous Friday nights of making stuff definitely helps keep you sane because I haven't got a room fit for a library to build.
but it's so good, and I think that's because when I was a little girl also, my dad being a musician, but he made like making model boats, and then he made violins, and then my mum was making all the time.
Your dad made violins?
Yeah, my dad made violins and violas. Yeah.
That's so cool. So he's actually a real craftsperson. That's not an easy thing to do. I've seen people doing that. It's actually a complete art to that. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
he taught himself to do it because he was a player rather than a maker, but he always loved making. And I think our house was just, you know, I would sew clothes I had a hand sewing machine, you know, from the age of sort of 8 or 9. So I think making is such an amazingly important part where you're not scared. You know, I remember making my mum this tie-dyed smock that was brown and tie-dyed and had all these hands smocking, and she had to wear it, and she had to wear it out as well. Poor mother.
I'm pretty sure if my daughter made me something like that, I'd wear it anyway. Definitely. That was the other way around for me because my mum was a couture dressmaker. So Friday morning, I'd be allowed to go late to school. My mum would write me some sort of note about being to the doctors. And really, we'd go around the fabric market and choose fabric. And then I would sort of direct her into what I wanted to be made for Friday night. And when I came home from school, there would be the outfit that was like baby grow, half purple and half mustard, or a Morag Myerscough dress, or a ridiculously fluffy shirt. And she would just be like ready for me. So I was like basically kind of creative directing my mum since I was about 9 too.
Oh, fantastic! That's amazing. Have you got lots of pictures of them?
Not loads of pictures because obviously it was just like real cameras, so
Yeah.
it wasn't quite the same as having, you know, what we do now. We do record everything so crazy now, but
well, also they weren't so good. You had to pay for the film as well, so you had to be sparing with your photos.
You didn't get one picture. If your eyes were shut, they were shut. That's it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think she quite liked it, you know. But I think when I make things, because I'm a bit more like my dad sometimes, which is a bit like, this is how we do it, and like the like practicalness of it, like just the actually how you do something from nothing. Whereas my mum is such a perfectionist, and so I'm somewhere between them both. But quite often, if I was going to make clothes, she wouldn't be able to cope because my mum would tack everything, and she would unpick for about a mil if it was a mil off. She's very, very precise, I think is the word, whereas I would just put a zip in, like without even just cutting. Like when Rosie and I were first together, when we would go out, we would just make outfits specifically for the Friday night, and they would get so ruined that there was no Saturday for those outfits. And I would just rip the bits of clothing and put pegs in it, or maybe just sew a few plastic sheets to the shoulders, and that would be the look. But it was fun, you know. They were for effect. They weren't. They were never going to be couture looks.
Well, exactly. They were the effect. I mean, my grandmother, my French grandmother, who was her whole thing was that she had a suit, and then she could make it into a coat, and then she could make it into a thing, and you know, more couture sort of changing things and making things last, and it was different types of material, and you know, is it
different colour to match a different outfit another day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all of that stuff. So cool, so cool. I think that all matters, doesn't it? Where you kind of like all of those things become part of who you are. I think, and I think I loved listening to all your stories in Cheltenham, and subsequently when I've listened to podcasts and things about you and your family. It's not that I'm stalking you or anything weird like
that. but it is it's weird though, because it actually takes quite a long time to realize that you like all those things from your family.
Yeah,
There's quite a long period of time where it's like, I haven't even got your genes, I've got nothing to do with you. And then suddenly later on, and you're fighting with your mother, and you know, my mum's like, oh, you're really like me. I was going, I'm nothing like you. And then I think I was the most like her. And that's why we fought all the time, you know. So I think you know, it takes a little while, doesn't it, for you just to go through different experiences in life to actually sort of realize where things come from. And I think that's what's exciting about life. And I think what's exciting for me is about how long I've been working as well, and how my work has evolved over time. And you know, maybe I was slow at getting to where I wanted to be, but maybe this is the right time for me as well, you know, because you know, it's a very different, it's an incredibly complex time at the moment this week with everything that's going on. But you know, I think that things have progressed, definitely, even though slowly, from when I was younger as women. So you know, I think that is really important.
And it works so hands-on, isn't it? It's so physical. I think what you do, it's just like, I think sometimes I get this impression that people don't really realise things are handmade, and how much work goes into it. And I always like to think about the people that made Spitting Image, and like how incredible that was, and how it had to stop because it was such a huge amount of work for the people making the puppets and stuff. And I think quite a lot of time people see things and think that they kind of manifest out of nothing, as it were. It's like, oh yeah, whatever. I mean, I see it, my daughter talks about it, even though she sees things being handmade all the time. And she'll, you know, I'm like, somebody made that. It shouldn't be $2.99. That is wrong. You know, look at the work on that. Even the buttons should have cost more than that, or whatever. You know, like obviously just go off on a tangent until it's sharp. But you know, it's like, I think your work is so I loved seeing it in real life, and seeing the panels of the text as well, and how that you chose to paint them by hand rather than screen print them or get them printed, and how I think important that is in this like real physical touch that you have with your work, as opposed to fabrication essentially. I think like spending that extra level of care on it is just like is like putting your heart into it, like physically, and you know, you go to sort of like a sort of like slightly meditative place where you kind of feel the need to be in it essentially. And I loved seeing those hand painted pieces. And I think for me, it really definitely, I don't know if you want to like maybe talk a bit more about this, but your position as what not being pigeonholed somewhere between an artist and a designer, because you're kind of you're an artist, you know, really, but you also have this sort of practical application of your work in a public sphere, which involves a certain amount of design and a certain amount of CAD and a certain amount of project-based skills that is like professional, as opposed to like being allowed to be, you know, all over the place and being carried along as just like maybe an artist would, as it were. But I think that it's interesting, and maybe you want to talk a bit about where you feel that you feel more comfortable, or whether you hate being labelled as anything or something like that.
Well, and for many years I didn't want to be labelled as anything, because I trained as a graphic designer, but even through college, I didn't feel that graphic design for me gave me enough scope, or people's outside view of graphic design. And I think it's developed, but it's taken 30 years. You know, so rather than me wanting to own, I didn't want to be just in one space always. Even from college, I wanted to be multidisciplinary. But within I think education, I think the art education is good, but I think that it's been actually channeled too much into particular courses, that if you choose something and you get that is you for the rest of your life, and that is just a tiny little thing, unless you so when I was at the Royal College, in the end I did opera sets. I made opera sets, and and everybody else was making posters and things, and they got really worried about me because they thought I was never going to get a job because of that. But actually what they should have said to me is, Morag, why don't you go and do a theatre design course? Or why don't, instead of, they should have embraced what I was doing rather than telling me, because then afterwards I thought, oh my God, I'm doing the wrong thing, you know. And then, but then I set up a company and I did really well doing the things I was doing. But it frustrated me because I always knew I wanted to do more things. And I really was absolutely in love with Memphis when I was in a student. And it wasn't because of what they produced necessarily. It was because of the ethos that as a group of people together, you can do anything. And I really had this idea that why am I, even though I've done this particular course or something, why am I don't need to be limited by anything. So that's what I've done. But it's taken a really long time because obviously I was good at graphic design and I did lots and lots of work with architects and everything. So everybody thought, and also that because I had a title of my studio was Studio Myerscough, and I did have some people working for me for a while, but then I didn't for and hardly anybody for a long time. Nobody actually even knew that I was Studio Myerscough. And that was another thing. When I set up, I was too scared to call myself Morag Myerscough because I thought I sounded too small, you know, and so I called myself Studio Myerscough. And then for the last 10 years, 15 years, I've changed that it's Morag Myerscough, because I do think it is important that people know that I do the work. I really do. Yeah. You know, from the very beginning. And also back to labeling, you know, I think that I work in this other space. I've always really liked people like the Lunar Society, which was Wedgwood and all the guys. I mean, they were guys, but all the people from that period of time, but they weren't trained in certain things, but they were inventors and they were, you know, they were designers and they were everything. And I think we can be. You know, if you don't have to be narrowed down. And so I just decided to go in my own I went on my own direction because there wasn't really any support around or role models.
If you train in one area, like me and Rosie both did fine art, and the plan was to, you know, move to Hackney, drink lots of wine, be fine artists. But I mean, we were doing fashion and reading Vogue because it was fun and much easier to read than some complicated philosophical text, which I was supposed to be reading. It felt kind of free because we didn't know what the rules were of fashion. So, or jewelry, you know, like I think if we'd gone to jewelry school, we wouldn't have been allowed to do what we were doing because it was too simple. Because our modus operandi was get something cool that we found in the real world, like a plectrum or a dart flight or something, a tape measure, and basically work out a way just of attaching it to your body and wearing it. And I think, well, I know that some of the students used to come on work experience and say, our teachers didn't want us to come and do experience for you because you're not proper, you're not real, you don't know anything about making jewellery. Which in a funny kind of way is true. It was true. I didn't even know what a jump ring was because I had gone to art school and I knew
But then that's why your work's so good, because you don't come with all that baggage as well. And so when I make big structures,
jump around, it's better.
Yeah, well, it has a freedom to it. So when I make the big structures, you know, I you know, no way I consider myself to have any architectural aspirations or anything, but I believe I can make three-dimensional physical spaces that come from as much heart as, you know, as maybe an architect would or whatever, or different. But at the same time, I'm not exactly what you're saying. I don't have the rules I don't have to break the rules because I don't know the rules. And I always try and stop I don't want to know any rules. I just decide that I'm just going to, you know, go for it. And that's where it's very difficult often when you're given a project to do, because I don't try and work with a necessary system. I have to feel something for the project. And that's why this was so brilliant, because we immediately had a connection, and it's a long, you know, it goes back, or you know how we've known each other and da da da, and so it felt right, you know. And if things don't feel right to me now, I think I can't force it. Whereas
No, absolutely.
when you're a designer, when I used to work very much totally as a designer, it wasn't really about that. I took on things. I sort of became a method actor. I learned about that thing. Obviously, I wouldn't do something that I didn't think was acceptable. You know, I wouldn't do something for something bad or anything, but it wasn't necessarily something I knew about, and I learned about it. Whereas I feel much more freedom now because I can express, there's more continuity in development, rather than separating, you know, rather than all the time jumping here, jumping there, doing that sort of thing. You know, it feels more true to me. And I think it
you really have got you've got language, haven't you? I think we both share that as well, is that your work is recognizable. And I think it's almost like you could say it was Morag Myerscough, you know, with something else, you know, in a word they've made up. But you've got kind of like you've got the sun, and you've got the kind of your colours, and the way that you work has got a kind of like a kind of look to it and a language. And I think that over the course of your career, as it were, that's built up and develops over time. So it kind of gives you a certain amount of confidence. And almost, but at the same time, sometimes do you feel like that's restraining because you've got a set of rules that make your work look like your own?
Not well, yeah, I suppose there is that, but I don't know. I haven't found it restraining yet, because there's so many things to do, and then you sort of think you've done a lot, and then you realise maybe you haven't done much at all, and so then there are. But I do think I've only got so many projects inside me. I sort of feel that a little bit.
And what would be your dream project? So if you've only got so many left, which I'm sure isn't true. I'm sure
I think I'm doing most of them this year, actually.
If you could pick anywhere in the world, or any specific landscape, or any specific institution, or I don't know, I mean, gosh, I don't know how you want to even how you'd even start to begin to choose this, but like, what would be the dream? Like, budget completely out of the, you know, there's no budgets, completely, you know, have as much money as you want anywhere in the world.
Oh, the dream is to build my chrysanthemum house in Finsbury Park.
Wow,
that's cool. My dream. And I've tried and I haven't done that yet, but that's why also I'm selling my house, because I want to get a garden that I can then build my chrysanthemum house in, to show somebody that my chrysanthemum house, because I love chrysanthemums. I love you know, people are so worried about colours being not sophisticated and da da da, but you know, gardens are full of flowers, and they come and then they disappear. And what's so brilliant about chrysanthemums is nearly all our a lot of the colour nomenclature is based on flower naming and things like that. So, and chrysanthemums was one of the biggest, because there were so many varieties, they had to call them different names, and then those names are filtered into paint colours and things like that. So I just have this sort of real passion to do this true connection with plant names and colours, and actually build this whole thing, this chrysanthemum house. Because, and also in Victorian times, why they liked chrysanthemums was because they flowered in the winter, and it was the only natural colour that they would get in the winter. So I love the idea of making this piece of work that is purely about colour in the winter, not, you know, not dependent on sort of Christmas lights or something, but actually depending on, you know, on things growing.
We need to contact somebody at Finsbury Council, surely, to get some sort of budget involved.
Well, there was Finsbury had 200 years, but it's a bit, you know, it's quite complex and that, and so if it isn't there, hopefully I get it somewhere. I mean, I'm working on it. It might happen sometime.
So, and you're quite a keen gardener, aren't you? And I think about this earlier, that actually lots of artists have had beautiful gardens, and I'm particularly drawn to Charleston in Lewes. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, so beautiful.
such an amazing space, and that sort of like resonates with your work and your environment and how they created an entire world, including the garden. And I would love to visit your garden when you get it, because I bet it's going to be next level. And also,
Oh,
like, the cool people who do gardening, like Cozy Fanny Tutu, who's just like, you know, an amazing 70s like industrial music punk icon, and who is just so into gardening now, but did like all this like crazy forward thinking semi-pornographic work at the ICA in the 70s. It's just like, yeah, man, gardening, that's so cool.
oh, and Frida Kahlo's house, not the one in her
Yeah.
house, is really amazing, but the one that she shared with Diego Rivera, which is like terrible, the way he had her in that. Oh, it's terrible. But when you approach the house, the fence is cacti. Oh my God, I practically died when I saw that. I was just like, oh my God, imagine having a fence that's cacti, and just all, you know, tall cacti. I love that idea where you've got enough space to make big gestures, and really, because at the moment, you know, I grew my 12 chrysanthemums to try them out, and that's all I could do. And then I have my little corner of tomatoes, but I want to do like big gestures in gardens. And
And I think there's something lovely about gardens, because they take time, don't they? And it's like it's like a work in progress always.
absolutely.
But obviously, it's not an orchard now. It's never really, you know, become a proper orchard my entire actual life. You know, there's this like sense of like leaving something for the future, as it were, which I think is really important in being a creative person. That you look at everything that people have done before you, and then try and make something new and leave something for the next person who's been behind you. Around about Charlton, you know, in 200 times I was looking at random jewelry that they found in a boot there or something, and they find out about, you know, what we did or something. You know, it's kind of exciting, and then maybe they make something new and something more exciting. I love the idea.
Absolutely, totally. Yeah, I mean, that's why the next move that I have is a whole sort of new chapter, and it will be completely crazy. I've just decided that I don't really care when I'm dead, that if I'm just going to go for this house, and I'm going to cover it with everything possible. And then I'm going to keep it until I die, hopefully, because I want it all on one level, so I don't have to be worried about the stairs. And then when I die, I don't really care. I don't even care if it doesn't sell. I don't care because I'll be dead.
Someone needs to look after it forever.
Well, but I'll be able to express myself in every way without worrying about anything later. So I'm very excited about that. So hopefully that's going to happen, and everybody's going to have to come round.
You've got any other exciting creative projects that you're working on at the moment? You said you're really busy, and so lockdown hasn't slowed things down for you, essentially. Got lots of projects on?
Oh, it did, apart from your project last year and Coventry last year. Last year, nothing at all. And then now, yes, thank you, everybody who's commissioning me. Yes, there is work. And so I'm making a big installation with the community for the Folkestone Triennale, which is really exciting. And I'm working on a project with Compton Burney, which is that is a dream, but I can't talk about it, but that is really, really exciting. And Coventry is just starting to be painted at the moment, a big canopy in Coventry. A big project is an exhibition in Belgium, and then a piece in the Tel Aviv, the Jerusalem, I think it's a Jerusalem festival. And lots of, some other things, and I probably won't go places, but I have made things before, working with people, and so I know how to do that. Like I did a big piece in Mexico where actually they made it really similar to this. They didn't want to paint. I thought we were in Mexico, they would want to paint everything, and actually they wanted to cut the sheets and die cut all the shapes out and stick them all on. It was really, really similar. It was really interesting. And so, because I like working with local, I don't want to make everything here and send things out. I think that's wrong. So I like working with the country that I'm working in, the city, and then the money where that goes back into their own economy rather than it sort of being taken out. So, and you use local people and stuff. So, you know, I think that, so those things are important, and I don't really feel worried that I can't go there. I mean, I'd like to go there, but I don't.
Yeah.
I think this year is going to be quite complex for traveling. So, you know, I can't really afford a week, 2 weeks quarantine there, 2 weeks quarantine, you know, somewhere else for like 5 days.
Amazing. Cool. So, and you've got a project in Grosvenor Square at the moment.
Somebody's asking me what necklace I'm wearing. I'm wearing the love necklace. Can you see it? Somebody just wrote.
Oh, yeah. It is like up a bit. That's called the Agape necklace. It's on the website. That one is actually editioned, isn't it? So I'm not sure how many are left out of the edition, how many we've sold so far today. But there's 25 of that piece. So everything else isn't editioned. But because that piece is really quite complicated and quite special, we thought it was best to put an edition on it. So I'm going to put the big one back on again.
I'm going to put this one on because I really like this one.
Like, maybe we should just scoot through a few of the other pieces of jewelry.
Yeah.
So just to make sure I've held everything up, because this piece I'm going to start with holding this piece up, because I love you're just like so full of joy and excitement this morning in your Instagram post. I think that this one totally resonates, and I also think it'd be hilarious if your name was actually Joy.
Yeah, that would be very lucky. Yeah, I love that as well. I think that, especially if you're wearing a mask, and then you can just wear that and put it there, or put it there, and you can show that you're happy.
Get it on.
Yeah. Well, you got your earring, haven't you? Lovejoy. I realised that was Lovejoy, isn't it? That's like that TV guy.
I was talking about Lovejoy the other night. That's really funny.
He's in Jersey or something. He's really scary.
Which era of detective did you wake up with? And I was like, oh, did you grow up with? And I was like, I was Lovejoy.
Lovejoy. We've got Lovejoy. So
I really enjoy earrings at the moment. We keep making odd earrings. So I really like the fact that they want like a double love. I get love and joy. And then maybe you want to talk about this one, because obviously it's a different world we're living in, and you've done a piece in Paris that this kind of speaks to, don't you? Haven't you, Arden? So
yeah, but I think it's just the whole thing about living in the now and living in at this moment in time and making the most of that. And even though it's weird, you know, when your future is taken away, which sort of is what we've had, isn't it? Then that it's very hard for our brains, because we're always planning to do things, aren't we? But then when you actually get used to going, okay, well, this is all we can do today, you know, this is our new now, and this is how we're going to be like this. And I think we're going to be like, you know, I think we're going to be in a new now for quite a long time before we get to the dreaded word normal, which I've never liked anyway.
I don't want things to be normal if they were like they used to be.
Exactly. So I think that, you know, this is very relevant for now. And it's been very fascinating, the piece in Paris, because they wanted to introduce, the people who commissioned me wanted to introduce some artists in Paris that people hadn't really seen before. And it was next to this really old church. And there was the parishioners in the church wrote a lovely sort of dialogue between the sculpture, one of the sculptures, I think he was a saint, one of the saints on the church, talking to my piece. And it was so sweet. And I just thought, what? Oh my God, if I haven't done anything, I just love the reaction. I'm going to put them all on. You've put them all on.
I think I'm going to stop for now.
I want to put them all on. I'm getting... I've got to sit up a bit higher.
Have enough room. I'm going to give it a whirl. It's probably quite interesting, and the people can see the scale of the different pieces, because sometimes it's hard to tell the difference.
Oh yeah, that's...
The little brooch is bigger, smaller than that one.
I can't see my brooches. Where are we? Oh, here we go.
As well as the bigger pieces, so they're truly
Oh,
doable.
and I love this this bunting one as well. I'm going to put that one on. Yeah, maybe you can wear several. That's exciting.
Like a kind of like a meeting.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! Oh, I'm super excited about that. I've got like a double.
I'd also just like to take a moment just to talk about these lovely little tags that we made as well, the back pieces. So, because obviously our work has always got the collection tag on the back, which is Harriet Vine, but I really like the way that your branding came out actually, with their little tag on the back and the yellow colour. It looks really cool.
I love it, obviously.
Put this one on as well. This is like sort of Harriet Vine meets Morag, because it's like a Morag.
Yeah, that I'm layering. I am. Somebody says you like layer. I'm loving a bit of layer. That's what I always think. That's what I always thought with my house, you know, because people said, oh, what have you done with your house? And actually the fabric of my house hasn't really changed very much, but I've layered onto it. And I like layering, you know, my work sits in a place and it's another layer that can stay or go away. I can't find my brooches.
And somebody's got a lovely sideboard that says bastard on it.
I have got a bastard sideboard, yeah.
I mean, and I love swearing, which I've done really well on not doing too much of today. So the fact you've got a sideboard that says bastard on it is just like, swoon.
Well, it was when I had my shop, because I had this shop called Her House, and we used to make all these products, and there's this lamp, maybe you can see it, I don't know. Oh, here? That's made of surgical tubing. And so we made all these products, and then we had all these bitch and bastard hats that we knitted and sold. And then we just, because sideboards always get in the way, aren't they? They're just annoying. So then we just thought, why don't we just call it the bastard sideboard? So that's why it is. And it's remained in our house.
It's very cool.
Oh, look, I can put joy on. Oh, yeah, I've got no words. That's brilliant. I'm going to put that in the middle of mine. So I'm super excited. Oh, I don't have pierced ears, but I bought, oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, look. That is very like my work, actually. Just layers on top.
Am I going to put an earring in? I very rarely wear earrings, which is probably, you know, a bit strange for someone who designs jewelry, but my mum was such an earring person that sometimes earrings for me belong to my mum. So whenever I put them in, I feel like her. And also, because I've got short hair at the moment, which is how my mum rocks her hair, it's like, I find it a little bit daunting to look at myself with earrings on and this hair at the same time. But they are lovely, nevertheless. Just for me when I wear them.
My mum and my sister, my older sister, my mum always wore earrings as well, but she always wore clip-ons. But Shauna has pierced ears, but I don't have pierced ears. So I did buy some clips to change my earrings over, because although I never wear earrings, oh yeah, but I couldn't quite get them to work. But because Luke cut my hair for me, and my ears lobes show. So I think now I can sort of have, yeah, I'm liking them. But like you say, I never usually wear them either, but I really love them on people. Earrings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially at the moment when you only sometimes ever see this part of someone's body.
Yeah.
That earrings are massively important.
But I don't really wear rings. But what I really do like necklaces and brooches. But I have got rings, and if I go out in the evening, I'll wear them. But when I'm working, I can't wear jewelry on my hands. But that's where it's nice to have them on my chest, because I don't move my chest very much. I don't know what I'm saying there. But it doesn't get in the way. Well, the necklaces. I'm not sure about my chest. Anyway, that's all gone wrong. Anyway, let's talk. Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it all more. Like, it's been such a pleasure to work with you.
And
the only thing that I am sad about is that it's been lockdown, so I didn't get to come around to your house and show you more stuff in real life, or come around and photograph the stuff on your studio floor and all the painty mess. I was really kind of looking forward to putting all these pristine things like on your like such physically worked on surfaces and stuff like that. But it's been such a pleasure, and I love it, and I'm so proud of it, and I think it looks great, and I can't wait till we can have like a proper little drinks and like a little launch party in real life. You should come round to my new studio, which I can't wait to warm up basically with real people, and when we're allowed, it's going to be very exciting.
Oh, that would be so amazing. I would, yeah, it's so fantastic. It is so weird that we can't do what we normally do, because we'd be all outside having a drink now or something, wouldn't we? And having a chat. But you know, we are going to get there. So I think that we just got to stay positive, and hopefully these are making me feel spring is exciting. Look at that. I'm loving this layering.
Shall I actually see if I can put it all on at once and try to find? No, I think it's kind of cool as well, because like through the pandemic, you know, it's kind of like accelerated everything as well, hasn't it? Because if it wasn't for not being able to be together, we wouldn't be doing this, you know, essentially, and that would mean that we wouldn't be able to talk to the, you know, 80 odd people who are, or maybe more, who have been on and off during whilst we've been talking. So like actually listen to all the stories about what made this come about, and our relationship, and how we made it, and how much we love doing it.
Yeah, it's really special. I can't think of a better collab. I mean, it was meant to be, wasn't it? Which is such a nice thing. And I do truly believe, I wrote on my message today to you, that I do really think that if you make work, if you enjoy making the work together with people, then the work comes out better as well, because you've all invested your sort of yourselves into it. I think is really, and you believe, you know, I don't know, I think good things come from good things, don't they?
I think that's so totally true, absolutely. And I think even post-pandemic, we should still definitely operate on a digital level as well, because it's kind of really inclusive, and it's so lovely to have that relationship with people. You know, it's a bit like, even though it's like the technology is like rampantly rushed on forwards to be able to make this happen, it's a little bit like when we first started 20 years ago on a market stall, where you get to go and stand on a stall and talk to another person, and they'd say, I really like that, and you can hear them and you can speak to them. And like being able to do this is, you get that little bit more like actual personal communication, and those relationships, you know, and they are not, you know, there's lots of people out on the internet, but you know, people that you react with on a day-to-day basis on the internet are like you know, they're like kind of part of everything that you do, really, aren't they?
Oh, totally. I love having conversations with people and messaging, and no, it's absolutely really important. And because also, if I ever do, poor people, if I ever do see anybody in the real, I did it to you, I cannot stop talking as well. So at least I try a little bit of restraint when I'm on Zoom and things. So it's a little bit more controlled.
I think also what I like about, I was going to just read this out, because this maybe makes sense of that as well. It's like your kind of like little catchphrase that I think is really cute, which is, I don't know if you want to call it a catchphrase, probably not what you have refer to it as at all, but I feel like that it says, make those who are near happy, and those who are far will come. And I think maybe like doing this kind of thing is like making the people who are far away happy too.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I don't, you know, I hope that's the thing. I think it's, I keep on thinking, actually, I'd like to change, it's a Chinese mantra, but I would like to change that to joy, because I think joy is a different thing to happiness, isn't it? And I think this feels very joyful, doesn't it? There's joy again.
Just because I've missed him.
Look, how many have you got on? You've beaten me. Look, I've tried to be a bit more reserved. I'm putting this one forward. It's quite, I'm trying to sort of arrange. Look at that.
Mine is like a load of different, I need to be able to put them in different heights so that they go all the way down and all the way up.
But don't you think what's so brilliant? The other thing that I've got to say that is so brilliant is they're so light. So even though they're so big, relatively. Well, some of them, like this one,
Yeah.
it's quite big.
Yeah.
And you know, that whole thing you taught me, where you were telling me about how the flexibility and the things, and how for them to sit on your chest and everything, that was so fascinating. And it's absolutely, you know, this where they, you know, it's so light, and that's what's so wonderful about the wood. And I think the wood is such a brilliant, I mean, you know, it was just perfect that you wanted to do the wood and the hand painting and the digital and everything. So it's a mixture of all sorts of things. I just think that, oh, you've lost me again. Maybe it's time I stop. I haven't had anything to drink, only tea, nothing else in my tea. But oh, there's my necklace. Look at that. Okay, so we've got our, that's my mixture. Go and put your mixture up. Put your mixture right up. Yeah, look at that. That's crazy. That is layering. That is like major layering.
Oh, if I was going to do it, I'd have to work out which one should go on top of which one, because it's hard, because I put them all on the same, because I put them all on the same height. But there is some, the necklaces have got like an adjustable bit at the back, so there's 2 heights you can wear them at. So yeah, height. But I automatically put everything on the smallest side. But actually, I reckon probably, I mean, obviously you're not going to wear all ones,
but you could wear a few. I mean, this has totally changed my, I was thinking one at a time, but I'm thinking several. Tomorrow, there's going to be there's going to be a combined post, I think, definitely.
I love it. Fantastic. Amazing. I'm looking forward to that post. I'm going to look at my bit of paper and make sure I've asked you everything I was going to ask you. I think it is. And we've talked about the project. We've talked about belonging, and we've talked about gardening, and we've talked about dream places, and we've talked about jewellery, and we've got all of the jewellery on, which must have shown everybody the jewellery that we've made together. Which I was hoping that I would get them all on screen without getting any of them, and I definitely have, because there they all are. Except for the earrings, because I haven't got ears.
Yeah, but we've shown the earrings, haven't we? So
yeah,
we can just sit there and hold like we're just fiddling with our ears. That's it. Just fiddling. Just casually fiddling.
Oh, Morag, it's been so nice. Maybe we should wrap it up. Although I know I could talk to you all night, but it's the first day of school tomorrow for my daughter, so I need to get home and put her to bed. Although you'd never know that to look at her. She doesn't know that she needs putting to bed, but she is only 2 technically. So I need to just go and get her off Minecraft. Really.
Oh right, okay.
But this has been so good, and I'm so grateful for you to being part of this with us and to agreeing to doing this live with us. And I hope everybody who has come on and watched us, even if it's just jumped on and jumped off again, or if you've been here the whole time, thank you for hanging out with us on this Tuesday night. And I hope that you enjoy the collection, and I hope that you enjoy everything we've said, and it brings you joy as much as it's brought all of us in the making of the project. Cool.
Yeah.
So thank you. It's been brilliant. And I'm going to close the call now. So thank you, and
bye-bye. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye-bye.